Hey everybody, this is Robin from Roaming with Rover. And today is a response video I got tagged on. So some of you may have seen the video put out by Dana's Wanderlust Crochet, and the tag was hashtag crochet heart. And it was a wonderful, wonderful video, and I'll link it down below. But the premise of the video really hit home to me. The idea was that we need to take a minute and slow down and do some things that are important to us. And boy, did that really hit home to me. You guys know me, I am always running in 100 different directions, and half the time I barely even have time to do any crocheting anymore. You guys know that all the things that I'm dealing with, those of you that have been following me for a while know that we've been dealing with cancer at our house, know that we've been dealing with, my sister has been very ill, and that is not going well, and that yeah, we're just dealing with a lot of things. And so taking a minute, stepping back, and doing something for ourselves is super important. And I don't do that. And when I saw that video, it really struck a chord for me. So the premise of the video is that we needed to pick 4 items that have been on our wish list for a long time, that we want to do for ourselves. And boy, a couple of them instantly popped into my head. And I kind of had to go back through my list to pick out some other ones that were, I've got tons and tons of things on my list, but to pick out some that were really special that I've been really wanting to do for a long time. But I did it. And I'm really happy. I'm very excited about the things that I chose and to share these things with you. Okay, so here we go. The first one. Oh, so here were the rules. They had to be things that are for ourselves, cannot be planned to give to anybody else, that we have not started yet, that have no deadline, because that's a big thing. We're always setting deadlines for ourselves, and you guys know for me, that's something I'm terrible about. I'm always setting often unrealistic deadlines for all these things. I always think I can do 1,200 more things than I really realistically can do. So that was a big part of it, no deadline. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, and this is, I got this as a kit. I bought this as a kit couple years ago anyway. And this is Sholach, and I know I'm butchering that. Sholach, Into the Woods. Isn't that gorgeous? Just gorgeous. So, and of all the things I pulled, this is absolutely my most favorite. This is an overlay mosaic pattern, and I believe I bought this kit. I bought this as a kit, and I want to say that I got it from Mary Maxim. Now, I actually bought 2 of these because when it first came out, it was just trees. It was just all the trees. And then about a year or so later, it came out again, and it had the houses and it had the deer. Well, I wanted all those things, so I bought it again. And the background yarn on this is the beigey kind of yarn. And they are using the prism yarn. Oh yeah, Mary Maxim. The Mary Maxim prism yarn as the color, the offset color in this. So these are the colors in mine. And I believe you could order it with different kinds of colors, but this is the one I chose. And the name of this prism yarn is called Surfside. Surfside. So the Mary Maxim prism with the Sholach Into the Woods. And for those of you that don't know, overlay crochet is one of my very favorite ways of doing crochet. And this one has the envelope border, which is probably what I would do because I'm not dealing with all those ends. So that's my number 1 thing. My number 2 thing is another mosaic, and this is called the Mosaic Highland Cow. Isn't that pretty? And again, just 2 colors. The background is that same beigey kind of color, And the solid part, the cow part, I believe the color I ended up with was called a pumpkin. I have the yarn for this. This is done by Crazy Crochet Cat Lady. It's a 2022 pattern, so it's not very old. And you guys may remember, I went through quite an ordeal to get the yarn for this. I picked what I thought was going to be a simple yarn to get, and it was the Pound of Love. Is that Karen? Karen Pound of Love? But it's the Pound of Love, whoever it is that does the Pound of Love. You know, those great big skeins of yarn. Well, I was ordering them from Joanne. And I think I needed 4 of them. The main color. The main color was the problem. I think I needed 4 of them. And I would go to the store and they would have 3. And then I would go to a different store to get 1, and the dye lots wouldn't match. And so then I would go online and order it, and it would be even different dye lots. Well, I did this back and forth with ordering and returning and going to the stores for a year before I could get 4 skeins of yarn with the same dye lot. Ridic. But I finally did it, and I have enough yarn to complete the color. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I ended up with something called pumpkin and the background color with matching dye lots. So that's the second thing that I wanted to do. Again, another mosaic. I love, love, love the mosaics. Okay, and this, I don't have that info. I only printed off the front page. The pattern for this was like 28 pages long, something like that. I only printed off the front page to show you guys. It ends up being a really, really big design when you're done. A big blankie. So, probably full size. And I'm going from memory here, so don't quote me on that. But it's a big blanket when you're done. It is going to be heavy. Well, you figure you're using the pound of love on there, and I have 8 of those, so that's going to be a heavy blanket. Okay, the third one is called Falling Leaves Ruana. Actually, I should mention one thing. This is a paid for pattern, obviously, came in a kit, but you can you buy this separately? You can buy this separately. Yes, you can buy this separately. Paid for pattern. This is a paid for pattern. I got this off of Ravelry. It was not expensive, but it's still a paid for pattern. Okay. This is called the Falling Leaves Ruana. You know me, I am a sucker for those Ruanas. This was a free pattern from We Crochet, and it's about 6 pages long, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6-ish pages long. This is and it's pretty simple. A lot of double crochets. The whole back section is double crochets. Just showing you some different views of that. Isn't that pretty? And it has different sizes. So it's kind of size inclusive, but this is one of the things I really, really liked about it. So you see the main design on here. You've got lots and lots of, there's some territory there doing those double crochets across the back, but then that leaf design is down both sides. And all of the pattern is written out in verbiage, but I got to the end of this pattern and look what I found. A schematic chart. And I was so excited because I'm thinking with all of these words, there's a very big chance that I am going to misalign or get mixed up while I'm doing all of that, you know. Because there's a lot of words there. And there's a very big chance I'm going to miss a row or misalign and get mixed up of where I am. But when I saw this chart, and it's the same for both sides. This is the leafy section, and it's the same for both sides. So you do one side of that leaf thing, and you do all those double crochets, because it's like 228 double crochets or something like that. It's a lot. It's over 200 in between each row. And then you get to the middle and you split it and you're going halvesies. And then you get to the end and you do the little leafy section. I was so excited. And I checked it out. I followed the instructions word for word and compared it with this, and it was perfect. I went into Ravelry and I read the reviews, and there was one lady who said she thought that the instructions, that there was a problem with the instructions, that it didn't match the count. And that got me concerned. But either somebody saw that, somebody at We Crochet saw that and fixed it, and that is why I checked the verbiage against this, and it worked out perfectly. So I think somebody has fixed that error, if that in fact was an error. Let me show you the yarn. So you guys may remember, those of you who've been following me for a while, may remember, I can't remember if it was, I think it was 2 cruises ago, I had taken several projects with me. In fact, I think I took 6 projects with me, fully intending to get all 6 done. Did not happen. This was one of the projects that I took with me. And this was the yarn that I took with me. Remember, I had just gotten my new yarn winder that was able to do great big balls. This is 1 skein of yarn, and I think this was either 3 or 4 skeins of yarn, I don't remember. But, so all of my yarn is wound up and ready to go. And I'm taking this on my trip next month. So I'm only taking 1 project this time. I learned my lesson. I know my limitations. So Falling Leaves Ruana, and I thought this would look super pretty in that green. Isn't that just the perfect green for this? Now this yarn is from Knit Crate, which of course is no longer available. This is the, all these names, Vitalana trellis yarn, Vitalana. And it's, the color name is Tendril, which is very appropriate for that color. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So in theory, this is a sock yarn. Fingering weight, although it's a little thick for fingering weight. Each ball is 400 yards, 100 grams, 4 ounces, 365 meters. Machine wash gentle, tumble dry low. And custom made in Peru, so it's gonna be nice. Using a 2.25 to 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. I'm not worried about gauge too much on this. You know, I'm just gonna go and it'll be whatever it is. If it's a knitting, it's US 1 to a 3. Okay, which makes sense because it's a sock yarn. Now, this is something interesting about this yarn. Besides being a very, very pretty yarn, check this out. I don't know if you can see. Hope you can see. Look at that, it's a chain stitch. It's a chainette. Isn't that pretty? And it's got a ton of give. Look how much give is in that. Just a ton of give. So I think this is, oh, it's so squishy. Look how squishy that is. This is gonna work up so beautifully, and I cannot wait to get started on it. What I'm not looking forward to is the, how many do we get to cast on for this? 216 chains. I will be using stitch markers. When I'm doing that many chains, I will probably do a stitch marker every 25 chains, because then I will count that a couple of times and then I don't have to worry about that till the next one. And honestly, I mean, really and truly, even if I'm off a few, it just doesn't matter, because you just got that great big wide expanse across the back. Doesn't really matter that much. The only time it's super important is going to be on those edges where you're doing the leafies. But I'm really excited about this. Very, very excited. Okay, and my number 4 is called the Uptown Poncho. And I have been seeing this for a long, long, long time. And every time I see it, and it just kind of pops up here and there, and I have always wanted to do it. And it's by Crochet Dreams, D-R-E-A-M-Z, Crochet Dreams. It is done in, the main body is done in a herringbone half double, which I do not know how to do, so I'm gonna have to learn that stitch. So that's exciting to learn a new stitch. I love this part, I love that. And so I took a screenshot of just that, and it's a little blurry, But look at how pretty that detail is. Now, again, I went on to Ravelry and I was reading all of the comments. Also, there is a video. She has done a video. And the video, I just watched the video. Of course, I have not done this yet, so I cannot give any credence to how well, it works up. But the video appears to be very well done. A couple of things I noticed in the video was she doesn't put her hands in the way of the stitches. She's really good about saying, okay, put your hook here, which I find very, very helpful, especially if you're doing a stitch you're not familiar with, or if you're kind of a newer crocheter. And something else she did that I really thought was cool. So have you ever done side work and they say, okay, do clusters or do whatever evenly across the side? Well, then you kind of struggle with how far apart to make them. She said, and don't quote me on the numbers, but she said, do one cluster every 4 rows or something like that. But it was very specific, so you knew exactly where to place each one of them. And just little things like that really, really, when you're following a tutorial for somebody, it really makes a difference in how nice the project is going to end up. Now, I want to show you something that one of the reasons that I chose this, and I forgot to grab it, so I'm going to pause it for 1 second and show you. Okay, one of the reasons that this caught my eye was because of these buttons on here. And it's always been in my mind that I loved the way that looked with those buttons. And do you guys remember, probably 2 years ago now, we got to interview that lady from our area who had the reindeer farm. And she had these reindeer buttons. And I have always thought that these reindeer buttons would look so cool on this poncho. What a great use for these reindeer buttons, because it's got to be something pretty dramatic. I mean, these can't just go on anything. And I just thought this was the best use for these buttons. So that's always been in my mind, that this was the perfect use for these reindeer buttons. So I'm not entirely sure that I would do this in the creamy white color. I may find another color that these buttons can stand out a little bit more, make these real focal point on this project. Okay, so a couple things on this. I had gone on to Ravelry and looked at all the different ways that people had made this, because the gal who created this pattern had suggested using the Lion brand woolies, which is a wonderful yarn, but it's a thick, heavy yarn, and it's kind of on the spendy side, and this takes quite a bit of yarn. And I noticed, I wanted to see what other yarns people were using. And I did see a variety of things, and they were turning out really, really pretty. The other thing I noticed is she suggested that you could use a DK, and I wondered how that would relate, how that would work out. A couple of people used DK, and they didn't seem super happy with how it did translate. But what was funny was one lady had used fingering weight, and she said she held it double, and it really was beautiful. So I just found that interesting. I saw some done in school colors. I saw some done in color block, a lot of striping. One was done in mandala, and so lots of coloring there. Variegated, it looked beautiful done in variegated. I saw a couple where they did the lace part in one color and then the body in another. And more than one person said this part got kind of boring, because there's a lot of that. And I can see how that would happen. I can see that being a project where, a car project, or maybe you take that to crochet group, so something where you can work on while you're visiting, or TV time, something like that. And one lady and it was beautiful. She, like every, say, 6 inches or so, would do 2 or 3 rows of some open work just to give it a little bit of a different texture. And it was very, very pretty. There's a lot you can do with this to just give it a little different look, a little different style, make it your own. But I think overall, this is going to be one that I'm going to really enjoy doing. So the Uptown Poncho. Oh, another thing I was going to mention. Like I said, there's a lot of rows in this one as well when you're casting it, or not casting on, doing your chain. And there was a suggestion that to do a foundation half double crochet instead of chain and then going in and doing it. So that is something else you can do. I kind of struggle with those foundation rows. I find it almost takes me longer to do that than to just do a chain and go back and do my first row. But a lot of people swear by it. They love those. So if that's something that you can enjoy, absolutely go in there and do that. I think there is a lot of room for personalization with this particular pattern, but I think this is a lovely pattern. It is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. I did not check Etsy. I typically don't buy patterns from Etsy because it's kind of tricky to download unless you're doing it off a computer. It is a free pattern from her website, and there is the video where it is a complete tutorial from beginning to end on that. So this is my number 4. Really did enjoy this. I just love the way it looks. Every time I see it pop up somewhere, I find it a very striking design. So those are my 4 picks. Those are the 4 on my list. The Uptown Poncho by Crochet Dreams. The Falling Leaves Ruana. It's put out by We Crochet. Oh, Pamela Stark is the pattern designer on that. Pamela Stark. And this is, again, free pattern on We Crochet. The Highland Cow Mosaic Blanket by Crazy Crochet Cat Lady. Paid for pattern on Ravelry. And Sholach Into the Woods Mosaic, overlay mosaic, paid for pattern. Again, I got mine from Mary Maxim. I'm sure you can buy just the pattern. Probably Ravelry, not sure. Probably Ravelry. Does it say? There's a hashtag Sholach Crochet, SHOLACH Crochet. I bet you can go do that and find out all the information. She's also got YouTube stuff. That's all for now. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. I forgot to tell you, I'm going to be tagging a few people and sending this their way so they can participate as well. So be looking for the tags.